Welcome to CGTN special coverage on Chinese President Xi Jinping's state visit to Hungary. I'm Li Qiuyuan, joining you live in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping says he is ready to have a good working relationship and friendship with Hungarian President Tamas Sulyok. The two leaders held talks at the presidential office and or palace. Beijing says it looks forward to more exchanges on matters of mutual interest and new heights in bilateral relations. President Xi arrived in Budapest on Wednesday night, the last state visit of his European tour. He was warmly welcomed by President Tamas Sulyok and Prime Minister Viktor Orban. President Xi's visit marks the 75th year of diplomatic ties between China and Hungary. The two nations elevated their relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership in 2017. And before we dive into President Xi Jinping's visit, let's also take a look at the other stories making headlines around the world. Iran is celebrating the 50th anniversary of its National Atomic Energy Organization as the country hosts an international nuclear conference in the central city of Isfahan. Rafael Grossi, head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the U.S. nuclear watchdog, attended the event where the two sides discussed ways to implement a deal to struck last year on oversight of Iran's nuclear program. Our Ahsan Kevani reports from Isfahan.
The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency visited Iran to take part in a nuclear science conference. Rafael Grossi's last visit to Iran was in March of last year, when the IAEA and Tehran issued a joint statement aimed at removing the remaining issues between the two sides. Among them, inspector questions about possible undeclared nuclear activity at certain sites. Now, after more than a year, there seems to be some progress.
Before the joint statement in March 2023, there were 4 suspicious locations with disagreed levels in traces of enriched uranium. So far, we have solved problems for 2 locations out of 4.
Grossi said the IAEA and Iran are currently engaged in a delicate process. According to him, intensive negotiations have taken place in Isfahan regarding reciprocal steps.
While recent trips to Iran by the IAEA chief have not been very fruitful, both Tehran and the nuclear watchdog hope that this visit can lead to removal of obstacles. Closer cooperation can resolve concerns over Iran's nuclear activities, especially uranium enrichment.
Grossi says the March 2023 joint statement is still the operational document going forward.
We continue to believe that this document is a valid instrument. It is a clear indication of the areas where we need to work, in particular at this phase, through very concrete steps.
The Atomic Energy Organization of Iran says the country has always been committed to cooperation with the nuclear watchdog.
In 2023, we had the highest number of IAEA inspections. Iran owns 3% of global nuclear facilities, while the IAEA did 22% of its inspections in Iran. This amount of inspection is unprecedented in history.
The head of the UN Nuclear Agency said during his visit to Iran, he provided Iran with a proposal concerning operational steps. This comes as Iran said it would not accept anything beyond safeguards of the Non-Proliferation Treaty that had been agreed in 2015 within the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, better known as the Iran Nuclear Deal. Ahsan Kevani, CGTN, Isfahan, Iran.
The country is experiencing one of its hottest summers as parliamentary voting continues throughout India. The heat wave is posing a major challenge for election officials aiming to ensure a high voter turnout. Ravinder Baba reports.
As election fever picks up in India, the mercury is also on the rise. Election Commission officials struggle to stay cool as they carry out their duties. They are responsible for transporting electronic voting machines to the polling booths, setting them up, and overseeing the voting.
The weather is somewhere around 44-45 degrees nowadays. We have to handle it. We have to go through the challenges because we need to conduct the elections smoothly.
The task before these officials is to boost voter turnout, which has been on the decline in the first 3 phases compared to the corresponding phases in previous elections.
In the light of current heat wave situation, we've received specific directions from the Commission to ensure that proper arrangements are made in the booth. In that regard, we've ensured that there is proper shade, shelter for the people who are there to look after the arrangements, the staff that is there, as well as the ones who are going to go there for voting.
In addition to these measures, the poll body has also extended voting time by an hour in many states. In these conditions, voters may be hesitant to cast their votes, but many still brave the scorching sun.
I have come prepared. I have had water and other body-cooling liquids to hydrate myself so that the heat has less impact on my body.
It would have been more comfortable for the voters if these elections were conducted in the months of February or March or in winter. That would have increased the voter turnout.
The Election Commission has formed a task force to monitor heat conditions before every phase of the elections.
If you talk about a month as a whole, we very likely to experience high temperatures over northwest India, or central India, and along the west coast specifically.
With high temperatures predicted for the entire month of May, there seems to be no respite for the stakeholders in these elections.
The summer heat has kept voters away from the polling stations in this election. Heat wave impacting the voter turnout has been a cause of concern for all political parties equally. Whether it will go in favor of the ruling party or the opposition, it is difficult to ascertain. Ravinder Baba, CGTN, Agra.
The Olympic flame of the 2024 Games has arrived in Marseille, the second largest city of France. It journeyed from Greece by sea for 12 days. Natalie Carney has more details.
France's oldest city, Marseille, is celebrating the arrival of the Olympic torch to the shores of France in an event that is being dubbed the first highlights of Paris 2024. The flame has been sailing along the coastline of Marseille on board the 3-mast Bélem ship, a historic French maritime treasure accompanied by well over 1,000 decorative boats, providing quite a spectacular show. The Bélem, with its 16-member crew, in addition to 3 guardians who have been watching the flame day and night to preserve the fire originating from Olympia, left Greece on the 27th of April with the flame to make the 12-day Mediterranean crossing to Marseille, its entry point into France. What makes the arrival of the Olympic torch here in Marseille so special is the story behind it and the city's connection to ancient Greece. Legend has it that the city was founded by Greek settlers, one of which fell in love with a local tribesman, marrying and thereby developing one of the world's oldest ports.
It's fantastic. It's very good for Marseille. It's fabulous to have the flame come from a Greek city. There is so much history there.
The celebrations continue on Thursday with the commencement of the Flame Rally, whereby the flame will be visiting some 8 communities first here in Marseille before continuing on to some 450 communities, meeting the people across France and to French territories. It will then make its way to Paris for July the 26th and the opening of the Paris Olympic Games. Marseille will also play host to 2 Olympic events, Olympic sailing, as well as 10 football matches. Natalie Carney for CGTN, Marseille.
Facing the unknown is always difficult. In a world in turmoil, it's easy to lose orientation. But when the storms come, we have to see the possibilities, reinvent, find new opportunities, discover a path forward. CGTN. See the difference.
Welcome back. President Xi's visit coincides with the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and Hungary. The two countries are bracing for a second decade of close cooperation on the Belt and Road Initiative. CGTN's reporters are standing by to bring you the very latest. And let's first go live to our reporter, Dongxue. She is live in Budapest for us. Great to see you there, Dongxue. What do you have for us? Fill us in on the latest.
Well, Choyuan, we are here at the conference room waiting for Chinese President Xi Jinping and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban to meet the press. Well, earlier in the day, both Hungarian President Tamas Sulyok and the Prime Minister Orban held a grand welcoming ceremony for Chinese President Xi Jinping. They also held talks with President Xi Jinping separately. Well, in the meeting with President Sulyok, new energy and green development topped their cooperation agenda. And President Sulyok also said he expects more Chinese investment and increased cultural exchanges, including more Confucius institutes and language schools to promote people-to-people ties. And as for President Xi, he said that the two countries should forge greater unity in their development strategies and identify new areas for cooperation. He called for the Budapest-Belgrade railway link under the Belt and Road Initiative to be accelerated and for stronger cooperation with Hungary in clean energy, artificial intelligence, the digital economy, green development, and other emerging areas. And the press briefing is about to begin very soon, and we will keep you posted for the later.
Yeah, we're standing by for that signing ceremony and a press release right afterwards. When that happens, we're going to bring it to you live. Thank you so much, Dongxue, live for us in Budapest. We want to also turn to our reporter, Evangelos Sipsas. He is at the Hungarian Parliament in Budapest for us. Great to have you with us, Evangelo. How is the mood over there?
Well, I have to say there's a lot of excitement here in the capital of Hungary, in Budapest. People are waiting to see what is going to come out of that meeting between the Chinese President Xi Jinping and the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban. Now, we have been going around the past few days. We have been speaking with people, and they're feeling excitement, but they also feel pride and joy. And why they feel pride is because it is the first visit of the Chinese president since the COVID-19 pandemic, the first visit on European soil, and he chose Hungary. One of the three stops is here in Budapest, and that makes them feel special, saying that they do feel respected from the Chinese president and the Chinese side. This shows how important the tie between the two countries are when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to energy, when it comes to other parts of the economy, but also the people-to-people exchanges that the Chinese Prime Minister the Chinese president has focused a lot on how he wants to enhance his cooperation between the two peoples. The 75th anniversary is this year, and the people here in Budapest know that. They know that Hungary has a cultural center in Beijing, in the capital of China, but also a Chinese cultural center will open up soon here in Budapest as well. They're also delightful to be able to travel to China without a visa, which started on March 14th. They told us that this is a great move to get to know better the Chinese culture, but also the Chinese to get to know Hungary. So they're hoping that from this meeting, the two leaders will enhance that cooperation and make these two peoples come even close together culturally.
Thank you very much, Evangelos. Live for us there in Budapest. Appreciate the latest. Now, CGTN's Zoyan sat down with Hungary's Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó. She asked him about Hungary joining the Belt and Road Initiative in 2015. Take a listen.
We were personally very proud that you were the first European foreign minister to sign a MOU on the Belt and Road Initiative with China in the summer of 2015. So, Mr. Foreign Minister, what made you so proud, and what kind of new developments do you foresee in taking shape in the near future?
Look, when we have entered office back in 2010, we have understood that the stable way to stay on the ground is having both feet on the ground. So therefore, although we are members of Western-oriented integrations and alliances like NATO and European Union, we have to reach out to the East as well, because we understood already at that time that the eastern part of the world was developing so quickly, and for us it was obvious that once upon a time, which came last year basically, the East and West will be somewhere in an equilibrium. And therefore, we have put a lot of emphasis on building relationships with China, with Japan, with Korea, so the major contributors to global GDP from the East. And Belt and Road Initiative was something which has helped this connectivity between geographically faraway areas, right? So therefore, I was really honored to sign the agreement as a first European foreign minister. We'll continue to add additional projects to One Belt, One Road. You know that in this framework, we have been reconstructing the railway line between Budapest, connecting us to our southern neighbor Serbia with its capital Belgrade. It would not have been possible, at least not in this form, if we had not been part of this Belt and Road cooperation from the very beginning.
And earlier, CGTN anchor Jonas spoke with Hungarian state media MTV's anchor Balázs Bergy. Mr. Bergy says bilateral cooperation has shown strong vigor in many sectors and brought tangible benefits to the Chinese and Hungarian people.
Balázs, it's great to see you. I appreciate this opportunity to talk and communicate. Let me first ask you about the reaction to the Chinese president's trip. We know this is Chinese President Xi Jinping's first state visit to Hungary. Can you share with us how this trip has been viewed in Hungary and how significant is it?
Thank you for the opportunity. It is an honor to speak to you. We can state that the Chinese president's visit to Hungary is of historical significance, as the economic cooperation between the two countries can further develop. In 2020 and 23, most investments came to Hungary from China, and negotiations are currently underway with large Chinese companies about further investments. Among the agreements between the two countries, those related to China's Belt and Road Initiative are of outstanding importance. These are, for example, possible infrastructural developments in Hungary, which may include railway, road and energy projects. In addition, the two countries will start cooperation in the field of nuclear energy, and it is hoped that further progress will be achieved in the field of trade relations as well. For example, more high-quality Hungarian agricultural products can reach China. In addition, tourism relations between the two countries are developing. Hungary is the leader in the region, with 19 weekly flights to China starting in July.
China has vowed to expand mutually beneficial cooperation and people-to-people exchanges with Hungary. From the Hungarian perspective, what positive aspects does the nation offer as a priority regional partner?
Hungary has all the features to be a logistics center for Chinese goods, as it is in an excellent location, has a developed infrastructure and a competitive investor environment. The development of Hungary's road, rail and logistic infrastructure is also in the interest of China, because it can deliver its goods from Hungary to the western and northern countries. Digital transformation may also be an important area of Hungarian-Chinese relations in the future, as China is also one of the world's leading powers in this area, and Hungarian businesses need technological developments. In addition, it may be important to strengthen financial relationships. The largest Chinese banks are already present in Hungary. After the Bank of China, the China Construction Bank and the China Development Bank, ICBC may also appear soon, so Hungary can also be a key regional partner of China in the financial field. China is an unavoidable factor in the world economy, and your country is extremely important for Hungary, because today most foreign investments related to electric cars come from China. And as the 9th largest trading partner, you account for 4% of Hungarian foreign trade. In Hungary, the proportion of direct investments from Asian countries rose from 19% to 34% compared to 2014. And China increased its proportion of direct investments fivefold.
Balázs Bergy, thank you so much for talking to us today. We appreciate it.
Ahead of his arrival, Hungarian newspaper Magyar Nemzet published on Wednesday an article by President Xi Jinping. In it, President Xi expressed his willingness to renew the two countries' friendship and work on a new blueprint for relations and cooperation in the new era. President Xi begins by emphasizing the profound friendship between China and Hungary as the two nations mark the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations. He says China and Hungary need to forge greater synergy in development strategies and strive for new highlights in practical cooperation. He says both countries need to lead regional cooperation and keep to the right direction of China-Europe relations and join hands to address global challenges. President Xi Jinping also says China looks forward to working closely with its Hungarian friends to write new stories of friendship as relations embark on a golden voyage. CGTN's Evangelos Sipsas has more now from Budapest.
The printing presses are working hard at the Hungarian Democrat, a weekly political magazine. The top story, of course, the visit of China's President Xi Jinping and discussion of how relations between the two countries could develop.
Xi Jinping kínai elnök.
We are all aware of the global influence of Chinese President Xi Jinping, one of the top political leaders in the world. We have sought the unique insights of Chinese journalists residing in Hungary, who have provided us with their perspectives on the visit's significance.
Under the title Connectivity and Peace, the article highlights the importance of Chinese investments in Hungary. Some believe the country is right to court new trade partners alongside its more traditional ones.
We understand that healthy, friendly relations are very important for Hungary. China is an important player in the Hungarian economy.
In Budapest, security is tight across the capital, while Chinese and Hungarian flags adorn the streets.
Hungary is one of the 3 stops that the Chinese president will be making on his European tour. And residents here seem to be warming up to closer ties with China.
I've been living in Hungary for 6 years, but because previously the president of China also came to Hungary before, I think about 5 years ago. I think this time that when the president come again, it will help to increase the relationship between China and Hungary again to make the business, economy, and partnership better.
The trade relationship between the two countries, it's at an all-time high, with transactions totaling over $10 billion last year, and estimates that trade will triple by the end of this year. During President Xi's visit, the two sides are expected to discuss how to further boost economic cooperation and trade, particularly in the fields of infrastructure, construction, and energy. Evangelos Sipsas for CGTN, Budapest.
I want to bring in my guest, Professor Chu Qiang, Fellow of Belt and Road Research Center in Minzu University of China, and also Professor Vasilis Trikas, Visiting Assistant Professor of Global Affairs, Schwarzman College of Tsinghua University. Great to have both of you with us. So let me start with Professor Trikas first. This is President Xi's first trip to Hungary ever since he took office in 2012, and also this marked the first visit by a Chinese president to the country in 20 years, so quite a momentous visit or occasion. What kind of expectation do you have for this trip?
Well, I think this trip comes at a pivotal time for China-EU relations. Sadly, the war in Ukraine in the past year and the fear that it has inspired, particularly in some Eastern European countries, has undermined China-EU relations. The idea here is that China has formed a kind of a special relationship with Russia, and this narrative, in a sense, has been detrimental for China-EU cooperation. Now, Hungary hasn't bought the narrative. It has rejected it outright. And so, to the contrary, for the Hungarians, China constitutes a great opportunity, economic opportunity, strategic opportunity. I've heard the Hungarian foreign minister who said, feet on the ground. Hungary calculates what are the national interests for Hungarian and European engagement with China. So I think Hungary has great comprehensive partnership with China, and the trip of your president is a capstone of more than 30, 40, 75 years of very solid strategic engagement between Budapest and Beijing.
Yeah, the president also said the two countries' relationship is at its best point in history. He used the phrase golden voyage to describe the relationship between the two. But how would you characterize the involvement of the two countries' ties over the years?
Well, we do have very good relations in the past 75 years. Well, in China, we have a concept in feng shui. It's called every 60 years is one jiazi, which means the whole business cycle, ups and downs. So if the two relations can go through the whole 60 years and longer than that, which means you can go over all the testament of the ups and downs, you will become true friends. So 75 years, Hungary is the #1 country in this region to acknowledge New China, and we stand as friends since that time. But at that time, I think the gold things we have is our confidence to each other. But right now, we're talking about the real gold happening, because China and Hungary right now has become two most important trade partners, investment partners, technology partners. So it's a real deal right now. We've been creating hundreds and thousands of jobs in this country. We've been, importing the really good quality food and, products from Hungary to China, promoting both sides of people's living standard, and also talking about mutual trust and the political issues. And I think it's all-time high in the history as well. So I think that's a reason why President Xi Jinping mentioned about the golden voyage between the two nations. We have the golden heart in their mutual trust, and also we have the golden opportunities in economy.
What I find interesting, Hungary is a country of 9.6 million, but China, 1.4 billion. But regardless of the size of population, the size of landmass of two countries, China says it has been treating Hungary on equal footing. The two countries have been pursuing win-win cooperation. How important is that in guiding bilateral relations, Professor?
Well, I think right now, if you take a look at China's the 15th five-year development program, and also you take a look at the Hungarian's national development plan, you will find we have lots of overlapping between the two nations' vision into the future. Hungary want to promote their living standards and the GDP per capita to a new height, and also China are marching towards rejuvenization of their whole nation. So I think this two grand vision can actually coincide with each other. And also, another coincidence is that China is heading towards the largest country of the EV making, the largest country in the new quality of the development forces, and also in Hungary they also try to revive their automobile making industry as well, and also towards a new technology country. So I think with all this shared vision and shared direction, actually we have a lot of things to work with each other. We can have shared dream with each other, we can have shared future with each other, and more importantly, we can have shared destiny as one human being.
Stay with me, Professor Chu and Professor Trickus. We have more to talk about. But before that, over the past decade, the diplomatic relationship between China and Hungary has grown substantially through a series of pivotal meetings between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban.
In May 2017, President Xi Jinping and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban established a comprehensive strategic partnership. This announcement came amid the Belt and Road International Forum, reflecting the ongoing healthy development of bilateral relations since diplomatic ties were first established 68 years prior. The leaders committed to mutual respect and the deepening of the comprehensive partnership, focusing on significant infrastructure projects like the Hungary-Serbia Railway and expanding financial cooperation. They emphasized the need to integrate Hungary's Eastern opening strategy with China's Belt and Road Initiative, aiming to propel the relationship to greater depths. In November 2018, Xi and Orban met in Shanghai to discuss furthering their strategic partnership, stressing the importance of mutual political support and coordination in international affairs. The leaders planned the upcoming 70th anniversary of their diplomatic relationship and discussed enhancing cooperation across various sectors, including agriculture, tourism, and innovation. Orban expressed his anticipation for the anniversary as a pivotal moment to advance Hungary-China relations under the new global circumstances. In April 2019, the leaders met again in Beijing, where they reviewed the new progress made since establishing their comprehensive strategic partnership and discussed the future direction of their ties. They emphasized the importance of political leadership in fostering closer relations and plan to implement key initiatives within the Belt and Road framework. The meeting underscored the significance of cooperation between China and Central and Eastern European countries and how it can strengthen China-EU relations overall. In October 2023, Xi welcomed Orban at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing, who was in China to attend the Third Belt and Road Forum. The meeting underscored the sustained high-level development of bilateral relations, the ongoing mutual trust, and the fruitful cooperation across various domains. The leaders discussed further deepening their strategic partnership, expanding cooperation in new sectors like green energy and information technology, and leveraging their respective cultural platforms to enhance people-to-people ties.
So, Professor Chu, I understand you traveled to Hungary a couple years back with President Hu Jintao back then. Talk to us about it. What kind of significant milestones or agreements were achieved back then, or over the years, have helped shape the two countries' relationship?
Well, that's just a wonderful trip. I still remembered we're going to celebrate our opening up of our Confucius Institute in Orban University. Actually, we feel a little bit nervous as we don't know what's going to look like. We have set up the first Confucius Institute in that country, actually also the first one in the European Union. So a lot of people are suspicious about that. But after so many years, if you go to there, there's still our Confucius Institute in Orban University is one of the most successful Confucius Institute among all. And more than that, we have lots of spillovers coming after that. We have bilingual school between China and Hungary, teaching with two languages, and nurtured lots of talents. And later, they become the leaders or pioneers in Hungarian and Chinese relations, technologies, educations, art, and people-to-people exchange. So I think these are the seeds that right now become the flowers. And I think in the future, they're going to be, the fruit. And more than that, we have built a lot of the late cornerstone for the economic cooperations. Well, back at that time, I think it's 12 years ago or 14 years ago. It's been a very long time. We didn't see much of the real deal investment and economic cooperation happening between the two nations back at that moment. But we have also made a lot of seeds at that time, and lots of contract that MOU has been signed. We don't know how it's going to look like, but take a look at right now. We have more than 8 billion euro worth of the projects together in that country, and been translated into more than 20,000 jobs created in Hungary, and so lots of GDP has been created since that time. So 12 years, it's a long way, but also it's a short moment since given so much achievement has already been made. Oh yeah, definitely big changes. Any ongoing diplomatic initiatives or joint projects between the two countries have caught your eye?
Well, I really think that the railway, it's not a diplomatic initiative, it's an infrastructure initiative, but I think infrastructure has spillover effects when it comes to diplomacy too. And if you think of the Balkan region, quite of the backwater, sadly, in Europe, underdeveloped compared to other places of Europe. Former ethnic tensions, a lot of current debates about the future of the region. So by increasing connectivity, for instance, I think China contributes to the diplomatic stability of a very important region for the future of Europe in East Europe and the Southeast Europe.
Definitely. Now, Martin Nagy, Hungary's national economy minister, praises the economic ties between China and Hungary. He believes there is more space for cooperation in fields such as electric vehicles and telecommunications.
And of course, we are competing to have the Great Wall motors to launch production here in Hungary. Of course, we are in a competition now because we are believing that the electric vehicle transition is a very important thing, and we have to accelerate it in the future. Of course, this means more trade because it's more production, and therefore, for example, logistics is very important in the future. So we wants to connect Hungarian and Chinese companies to improve relationship in logistics as well. And of course, digitalization is very, very important as well, AI and so on. So everybody knows about the names Huawei. So we are building a strong relationship between Hungarian telecommunication company, for example, 4G, and the Chinese Huawei. They are great friends.
CGTN's Pablo Gutierrez sat down with President of the Hungarian Banking Association, Roberto Jasic. Let's hear his ideas on the future economic relations between China and Hungary.
China is and has been for the last decade one of the most prosperous and more dynamic countries for the Hungarian trade. We had 7.6 billion euros of FDIs in 2023. We expect this number almost to double in the next couple of years. And I think also for the Chinese investors, Hungary obviously plays a major role as far as investment in Central Eastern Europe is concerned. I think it's also important to mention that in addition to the chemical industry that is already here from China, in addition to telecommunication into the banking sector, we are also expecting some other additional investment, especially in the automobile industry. The new ones that are coming, that are already in the way, is among others cattle, but also BYD, which is going to build up a factory in Szeged. So we are all excited, and we are hoping that is going to boost the future economic relationships as well then.
Now, we have the Belt and Road Initiative that is currently developing the railway between Belgrade and Budapest, and also this oil pipeline between Hungary and Serbia. Aside from that, what has been the impact in the Hungarian economy of the BRI?
Listen, we are aware that infrastructure developments are representing, so to say, the backbone of the sustainable and long-term economic growth. In addition to the issues already mentioned, let me just raise the fact that there are weekly 17 direct flights between Hungary and China, which is also cementing, so to say, the good relationship. As far as I'm aware, there is no other country in the CE where there are more direct flights from China than to Hungary. I think it's very important. And I do hope that this also represents, so to say, a good welcome to all the Chinese businessmen who are coming over to Europe, because obviously then Hungary is going to be one of the major board and major, so to say, jumping stones for all of their businesses in Central and Eastern Europe. You already mentioned the Budapest-Belgrade train. That infrastructural piece fits perfectly into the South-North relationship between Piraeus through the Western Balkans all over to Budapest, and we do hope that this is also contribute to a cheaper, faster, and economically more reliable relationship between not only Hungary and China, but between European Union and China as well then.
You know, trade between the two countries has risen over 70% in the past decade. That's pretty remarkable. But talk to us about it. What are the main areas of, focus in trade cooperation between the two sides?
Well, we do have very, very rapid growth in the bilateral trade between the two nations. Actually has been, a lot has been happening. A lot of people probably, they know Hungary as a famous agriculture, producer. So they have really high qualities of the caviar. They have really good beef. They have very good fruit and also wines, and been importing to China, for a very long time. But also you need to know is that, Hungary is actually very famous for their automatic, industry, as well as the car making industry. They have the world level kind of fleet of the engineers, and so they have, time-honored factories in those regard. Actually, the reason why China has been, choosing Hungary as one of the EV making partners is because they have a solid foundation in these areas. For a very long time, actually in China, we imported their parts of the cars into China and also built the joint venture with them. So I think from these basic areas, you're going to see that we have a solid foundation of a bilateral trade. And in the future, let me mention, we have more things to do together in the trade. For example, technology trade and AI. Well, this is a country generated von Neumann. You think, you can imagine how good they are in this technology of the computer science and etc. And also more things is going to happen in the pharmaceutical industry and also in the iron and steel industry. So more things will be happening in this two countries bilateral trade, and more happening, more of the factories will be built as well.
Yeah. As our Doshua mentioned a little earlier, green technology and EVs, new energy vehicles, are some of the focus of their discussions. What do you think, Professor? Are these areas that you see that we could have more opportunities to expand cooperation?
Yeah, I think, the Hungarians are very proud for their scientific and epistemic capital historically. And I totally second your views about the strength of their scientific sector and their industrial ecosystem. They have been, in the past 10, 15 years, they have been integrated into the European industrial German ecosystem, particularly in the auto sector. If you look to the major policy documents by think tanks or the Hungarian government, They see this integration into the German ecosystem as very successful, but they realize that China, particularly in the electric vehicle sector, is the next big elephant in the room. And so from a Hungarian perspective, their strategy is to attract as many investments as possible into the electric vehicle sector. Not only from China, for sure China has invested there, both KTL and BYD, but also from South Korea and even from Japan. So from a Hungarian perspective, I think the auto sector is the priority. And then in a secondary drive, what they aim for is to bring in some Chinese research and development centers when it comes perhaps to telecommunications and industry.
Yeah, when you think about it, China is Hungary's biggest foreign investor. I mean, how important are Chinese companies to Hungary's economy?
Well, that's surprising because actually in 2020 and 2023, China was the number one investor in Hungary. They're tremendously important. There was this backlash, if you wish, against Chinese cheap imports into the EU. There is a continuing discussion about this. But the Hungarian approach is different. It's greenfield investment. So from a European perspective, this is positive, Sam. This is directly out-of-hand win-win cooperation because the Chinese are going to invest in Hungary. They're going to provide jobs and know-how, and then products would not be imported into Europe. They will be produced within Europe by European workers, by Hungarian workers, and so this is absolutely a positive relationship.
Yeah, you know, as we speak, we're standing by for a signing ceremony between China and Hungary. It's going to take place later this hour. We're standing by for that. And before that, I want to go live to our correspondent Pablo Gutierrez at the Citadela in Budapest. Pablo, great to see you there. This is President Xi Jinping's first state visit to Hungary. What can we expect?
Well, there is a lot to expect today. In just a few minutes, we are going to hear from China's President Xi Jinping and also Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban. There are 16 to 18 accords, deals that could be signed today. We don't know the exact nature of them, but we have an idea of what they could encompass. And we are here joined today with Mr. Levente Horvath. He is the founding director of the Eurasia Center in Hungary. Sir, what can we expect today to hear from both leaders?
I'm sure it will be a historical moment for the Hungarian and the Chinese diplomatic relation, as in the past 20 years we haven't received a president from China, and in the past 5 years in the European Union we also couldn't welcome the president of China. Between the Hungarian and Chinese presidents, prime ministers, I'm sure they will announce this 16 or maybe it will be 18th project. What is about the energy, the green energy, the electric cars, and maybe the nuclear energy, because nowadays we have energy crisis in Europe, and also it will maybe about the people-to-people extending this, because it's also very important between the different cultures, and I'm sure there will be other parts such as the finance and we are waiting for it, yes.
Yeah, you and I have been speaking at length about this matter, and one of the things that has become very clear is the importance that this visit gives Hungary. We know that they're going to take over the rotating presidency of the European Council on July 1st. What does that do for Chinese relationships with Western Europe and also Hungarian relationships?
In the past year, we have witnessed that the world order is changing, and the unipolar world order is becoming a multipolar world order, where the China and other Asian emerging countries, economic countries, they became more powerful, and they will be the new polars in this multipolar world order. And the Western, they are losing their first position. So they are afraid of China, they are demonizing China. And that's why in the EU-China relation, we can see that there are a lot of ideological and political issues. However, if you see the members of the EU, they are strengthening the cooperation with China, and they are seeking for the support of China, such as 1 month before, the German Chancellor Scholz, he went to China, and he was with a delegation of 50 members of the biggest German companies' CEOs. I'm sure they were talking about business and not about the decoupling or de-risking. And also last year, Macron has visited China. Now, just now, they had the revisiting from the Chinese side, Xi Jinping president, and also Belgium, Spanish, and Netherlands prime minister, they already visited China, and Poland, Italy, they are planning to go to China. So these European members, they are strengthening the economic relation with China, but in the other hand, they are criticizing China a lot from an ideological and political way. But Hungary, we have our own international diplomacy ideology or thinking, and we would like to have connectivity, we would like to have peace, mutual respect, and cooperation. And this is what is similar to the Chinese, and that's why Hungarian government and the Chinese government, they can have a very fruitful cooperation. In the past 14 years, we have seen that the trade, for example, the Hungarian export has been doubled and the import has been tripled. So now the Hungarian-Chinese trade, in the total Hungarian trade, it's already 4%. So it's developing, increasing very fast. And also, if we can see from the BRI, the 5 connectivity, the political level is very strong. The Prime Minister and Xi Jinping, they already met 7 times. And also the trade, as I have mentioned, is strong. The investment is higher and higher. China is the biggest investor in Hungary. Also the infrastructure, as the Budapest-Belgrade Railway, Hungary can be a part of the BRI, and also this connect in the Eurasia conception, in the Eurasia connectivity. So it's not about only Hungary and Serbia's connection, but it will be a help for the Central Europe and also for the European Union to participating in this connectivity.
BRI is very important. Do you expect to see an expansion of BRI? We've been reporting extensively on this. Last month, the foreign minister, Hungary's foreign minister, Péter Szijjártó, was in Beijing. He said that there is a need to to strengthen the railroad system and have a connection between east and west, because we know the Belgrade to Budapest railway is north and south, but some of those products need to reach Western Europe.
Yes, sure. In Hungary, we think that we have to cooperate with the best. And as we have seen, China is the best in the railway high-tech, in the technology. As we have seen that in the last 15 years, China already built up more than 45,000 high-speed railway. So we also need this kind of high-techs and technology. And yes, it would be a great help for Hungary to build up the infrastructure, so Hungary can be a hub or a bridge between the West and the East, if we do have a very high quality technology in the infrastructure too. So yes, we are seeking for a better way in the West and the East by this high-speed railway, and we hope that Hungary can become a logistical hub.
We talked recently with Economic Minister Mr. Nagy in relation to the efforts by Hungary to bring Great Wall Motors to set up one of its factories here in Hungary. We know that Hungary is bidding for this. So is the Czech Republic. So is Germany. But at the same time, we hear from Western countries this narrative of de-risking. Are you hearing two different versions? One side is reaching out to China, the other one is trying to separate itself from it, but they're the same players at the end of the day.
Yes, from our view, we feel like it's a double standard. Like if a Chinese company investing in Hungary from the EU, from the point of view, it's a bad thing. And but if they invest in the Western countries of Europe, it's a good cooperation. It's a little bit different and it's strange and we cannot understand it. But we know that there is a big competition for these Chinese investments actually. But Hungary in the past 20-30 years, we already built up the market for the car factories and for this infrastructure. So we do have huge Germanian car factories, but also we realize in the 21st century the electric car is the future. This is the mega trend. So now we need more electric cars, and who is the best in the electric cars, or who has the better technology is China. So we are welcoming them, but also we are welcoming other countries' companies.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for speaking with us today. And in just a few minutes, we will know the exact details of these agreements that will be signed today between China and Hungary. I'm Pablo Gutierrez, back to you.
Thank you very much, Pablo Gutierrez, and many thanks to our guest there as well. Hungary aims to become a center for the production of electric vehicle in Europe. It has opened up opportunities for overseas companies to build production facilities for the European market. 2 years ago, CATL, a Chinese battery manufacturing company, began building its super factory in eastern Hungary. Our reporter Chen Ziyuan finds out more.
After completion, it will be the biggest manufacturing facility of CATL in Europe. This is its second overseas factory after the one in Germany.
Located in Debrecen in East Hungary, this company has invested more than 7 billion euros to build a 100 gigawatt-hours battery plant. This is not far from the oval plants of brands such as Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Volkswagen, showcasing Hungary's ambitions of becoming European manufacturing hub of electronic vehicles.
The construction is expected to finish in 2025, and soon thereafter, production will start.
This is going to be built in 3 phases. Now we can see behind us the first phase being built. Actually, we arrived to the structure building phase by the end of last September. And we are actually now already building the roof and the facade of the first building, in which battery cells and modules will be produced from 2025.
China and Hungary's bilateral ties have attracted more Chinese companies to invest in the market. BYD, another Chinese manufacturer of electronic vehicles, has also announced its plan to invest and build a factory in Hungary, bringing along automatic production and advanced technology.
I think this is a very important step in the life of our country. The government has moved the economic relations and economic processes to invest into the industry of the future, so the electrification.
Sidlow said the visit is welcomed by the business community.
Hungary and China has been having a very deep and long-term good relationship, also economic and diplomatic relationship. The president of China is, I think, welcome in Hungary, and thanks to the so-called One Belt, One Road initiative, I think this visit is very important for Hungary and also for the business community.
President Xi says Hungary was one of the first countries to establish diplomatic relations with China. The traditional friendship between the two countries has a long history. No matter how the international situation changed, China-Hungary relations has always developed. It will thrive with the Belt and Road Initiative partnership and investments by companies of both countries. Chen Ziyuan, CGTN, Budapest, Hungary.
Speaking to CGTN, Tamas, Deputy Governor of Hungary's central bank, has highlighted China's importance to the Hungarian economy.
In the last year, in 2023, 1/6 of the total FDI was made by Chinese investors here in Hungary. So, of course, we are pretty interested in those new investments which were delivered here. So, of course, Hungary is a very open economy with a high export to GDP share. So I'm always saying we are interested in a win-win strategy together with our investors, together with our Chinese investors. So I think they bring a world leader, new technologies to the country in many fields, in green technologies, in battery technologies. While we have, I think, pretty good infrastructure, well-qualified workers, and putting this factors together, I think we have a good chance to deliver further successes in our export markets. So that's why, again, so we are pretty interested in the Chinese investments. I strongly believe that the Hungarian economy will provide a good platform.
How do you think the relationship between Hungary and China could grow in the financial and banking sectors?
The first one is the digital currency project. So I think in the central banks nowadays, that's one of the number one issue, what can be the future of money. And I think the future of money will be digital. So it's pretty clear. So that's why nowadays the central bankers are thinking a lot on the CBDC project, and on that field, the PBOC is one of the front runner in the global playing field. So that's why we are pretty interested in their own experiences. We have our own projects, but of course, I think it's new technology, so it's worth to share the information between us. The other issue will be the green financing. So I think generally the key nowadays to speed up, to accelerate the green transition in our economies. And to deliver that, I think the role of the finance will be key. And the Hungarian Central Bank made a lot of efforts in the last couple of years towards the green central banking. So I can say within Europe, we are one of the most greener central bank. But it's also clear that our Chinese colleagues made a lot of big steps ahead in that field. So that's why we would like to make very close relationship with the Chinese colleagues to share our views about the green finances. So digitalization and green finance can be the future of the central banking.
That's a wrap for our special coverage of President Xi Jinping's visit to Hungary this hour. Our special coverage continues next hour as we stand by for a signing ceremony between the two countries. I'm Luciana Beijing. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Hello and welcome to CGTN's special coverage on Chinese President Xi Jinping's state visit to Hungary. I'm Li Jiuyuan coming to you live in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping says he is ready to have a good working relationship and friendship with Hungarian President Tamas Sulyok. The two leaders held talks at the presidential office and or palace. And Beijing says it looks forward to more exchanges on matters of mutual interest and new heights in bilateral relations. President Xi arrived in Budapest on Wednesday night, the last state visit of his European tour. He was warmly welcomed by President Tamas Sulyok and Prime Minister Viktor Orban. President Xi's visit marks the 75th year of diplomatic relations between China and Hungary. The two nations elevated their relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership in 2017. Ahead of his arrival, Hungarian newspaper Magyar Nemzet published on Wednesday an article by President Xi Jinping. In it, President Xi expressed his willingness to renew the two countries' friendship and work on a new blueprint for relations and cooperation in the new era. President Xi begins by emphasizing the profound friendship between China and Hungary as the two nations mark the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations. He says China and Hungary need to forge greater synergy in development strategies and strive for new highlights in practical cooperation. He says both countries need to lead regional cooperation and keep to the right direction of China-Europe relations and join hands to address global challenges. Xi Jinping says China looks forward to working closely with its Hungarian friends to write new stories of friendship as relations embark on a golden voyage. CGTN's Evangelos Ipsas has more from Budapest.
The printing presses are working hard at the Hungarian Democrat, a weekly political magazine. The top story, of course, the visit of China's President Xi Jinping and discussion of how relations between the two countries could develop.
Xi Jinping kínai elnök.
We are all aware of the global influence of Chinese President Xi Jinping, one of the top political leaders in the world. We have sought the unique insights of Chinese journalists residing in Hungary, who have provided us with their perspectives on the visit's significance.
Under the title Connectivity and Peace, the article highlights the importance of Chinese investments in Hungary. Some believe the country is right to court new trade partners alongside its more traditional ones.
We understand that healthy, friendly relations are very important for Hungary. China is an important player in the Hungarian economy.
In Budapest, security is tight across the capital, while Chinese and Hungarian flags adorn the streets.
Hungary is one of the three stops that the Chinese president will be making on his European tour. And residents here seem to be warming up to closer ties with China.
I've been living in Hungary for 6 years, but because previously the president of China also came to Hungary before, I think about 5 years ago. I think this time that when the president come again, it will help to increase the relationship between China and Hungary again to make the business, economy, and partnership better.
The trade relationship between the two countries, it's at an all-time high, with transactions totaling over $10 billion last year, and estimates that trade will triple by the end of this year. During President Xi's visit, the two sides are expected to discuss how to further boost economic cooperation and trade, particularly in the fields of infrastructure, construction, and energy. Evangelos Ipsas for CGTN, Budapest.
And earlier, CGTN anchor Zhong Shi spoke with Hungarian state media MTVA's anchor Balázs Beregi. Mr. Beregi says bilateral cooperation has shown strong vigor in many sectors and brought tangible benefits to the Chinese and Hungarian people.
Balázs, it's great to see you. I appreciate this opportunity to talk and communicate. Let me first ask you about the reaction to the Chinese president's trip. We know this is Chinese President Xi Jinping's first state visit to Hungary. Can you share with us how this trip has been viewed in Hungary and how significant is it?
Thank you for the opportunity. It is an honor to speak to you. We can state that the Chinese president's visit to Hungary is of historical significance, as the economic cooperation between the two countries can further develop. In 2020 and 23, most investments came to Hungary from China, and negotiations are currently underway with large Chinese companies about further investments. Among the agreements between the two countries, those related to China's Belt and Road Initiative are of outstanding importance. These are, for example, possible infrastructural developments in Hungary, which may include railway, road and energy projects. In addition, the two countries will start cooperation in the field of nuclear energy, and it is hoped that further progress will be achieved in the field of trade relations as well. For example, more high-quality Hungarian agricultural products can reach China. In addition, tourism relations between the two countries are developing. Hungary is the leader in the region, with 19 weekly flights to China starting in July.
China has vowed to expand mutually beneficial cooperation and people-to-people exchanges with Hungary. From the Hungarian perspective, what positive aspects does the nation offer as a priority regional partner?
Hungary has all the features to be a logistics center for Chinese goods, as it is in an excellent location, has a developed infrastructure and a competitive investor environment. The development of Hungary's road, rail and logistic infrastructure is also in the interest of China, because it can deliver its goods from Hungary to the western and northern countries. Digital transformation may also be an important area of Hungarian-Chinese relations in the future, as China is also one of the world's leading powers in this area, and Hungarian businesses need technological developments. In addition, it may be important to strengthen financial relationships. The largest Chinese banks are already present in Hungary. After the Bank of China, the China Construction Bank and the China Development Bank, ICBC may also appear soon, so Hungary can also be a key regional partner of China in the financial field. China is an unavoidable factor in the world economy, and your country is extremely important for Hungary, because today most foreign investments related to electric cars come from China. And as the 9th largest trading partner, you account for 4% of Hungarian foreign trade. In Hungary, the proportion of direct investments from Asian countries rose from 19% to 34% compared to 2014. And China increased its proportion of direct investments fivefold.
Balatz Baregi, thank you so much for talking to us today. We appreciate it.
And before we dive into President Xi Jinping's visit there in Hungary, let's take a look at other stories making headlines around the world. Iran is celebrating the 50th anniversary of its National Atomic Energy Organization as the country hosts an international nuclear conference in the central city of Isfahan. Rafael Grossi, head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the U.S. nuclear watchdog, attended the event where the two sides discussed ways to implement a deal struck last year on oversight of Iran's nuclear program. Our Asan Kivani reports from Isfahan.
The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency visited Iran to take part in a nuclear science conference. Rafael Grossi's last visit to Iran was in March of last year, when the IAEA and Tehran issued a joint statement aimed at removing the remaining issues between the two sides. Among them, inspector questions about possible undeclared nuclear activity at certain sites. Now, after more than a year, there seems to be some progress.
Before the joint statement in March 2023, there were 4 suspicious locations with disagreed levels in traces of enriched uranium. So far, we have solved problems for 2 locations out of 4.
Grossi said the IAEA and Iran are currently engaged in a delicate process. According to him, intensive negotiations have taken place in Isfahan regarding reciprocal steps. While recent trips to Iran by the IAEA chief have not been very fruitful, both Tehran and the nuclear watchdog hope that this visit can lead to removal of obstacles. Closer cooperation can resolve concerns over Iran's nuclear activities, especially uranium enrichment. Grossi says the March 2023 joint statement is still the operational document going forward.
We continue to believe that this document is a valid instrument. It is a clear indication of the areas where we need to work, in particular at this phase, through very concrete steps.
The Atomic Energy Organization of Iran says the country has always been committed to cooperation with the nuclear watchdog.
In 2023, we had the highest number of IAEA inspections. Iran owns 3% of global nuclear facilities, while the IAEA did 22% of its inspections in Iran. This amount of inspection is unprecedented in history.
The head of the UN Nuclear Agency said during his visit to Iran, he provided Iran with a proposal concerning operational steps. This comes as Iran said it would not accept anything beyond safeguards of the Non-Proliferation Treaty that had been agreed in 2015 within the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, better known as the Iran Nuclear Deal. Ehsan Kayvani, CGTN, Isfahan, Iran.
To India now. The country is experiencing one of the hottest summers as parliamentary voting continues throughout India. The heat wave is posing a major challenge for election officials aiming to ensure a high voter turnout. Ravinder Bawa reports.
As election fever picks up in India, the mercury is also on the rise. Election Commission officials struggle to stay cool as they carry out their duties. They are responsible for transporting electronic voting machines to the polling booths, setting them up, and overseeing the voting.
The weather is somewhere around 44-45 degrees nowadays. We have to handle it. We have to go through the challenges because we need to conduct the elections smoothly.
The task before these officials is to boost voter turnout, which has been on the decline in the first 3 phases compared to the corresponding phases in previous elections.
In the light of current heat wave situation, we have received specific directions from the Commission to ensure that proper arrangements are made in the booth. In that regard, we've ensured that there is proper shade, shelter for the people who are there to look after the arrangements, the staff that is there, as well as the ones who are going to go there for voting.
In addition to these measures, the poll body has also extended voting time by an hour in many states. In these conditions, voters may be hesitant to cast their votes, but many still brave the scorching sun.
I have come prepared. I have had water and other body cooling liquids to hydrate myself so that the heat has less impact on my body.
It would have been more comfortable for the voters if these elections were conducted in the months of February or March or in winter. That would have increased the voter turnout.
The Election Commission has formed a task force to monitor heat conditions before every phase of the elections.
If you talk about a month as a whole, we very likely to experience high temperatures over northwest India, or central India, and along the west coast specifically.
With high temperatures predicted for the entire month of May, there seems to be no respite for the stakeholders in these elections.
The summer heat has kept voters away from the polling stations in this election. Heat wave impacting the voter turnout has been a cause of concern for all political parties equally. Whether it will go in favor of the ruling party or the opposition, it is difficult to ascertain. Ravinder Bawa, CGTN, Agra.
The Olympic flame of 2024 Games has arrived in Marseille, the second largest city of France. It journeyed from Greece by sea for 12 days. Natalie Carney has more details.
France's oldest city, Marseille, is celebrating the arrival of the Olympic torch to the shores of France in an event that is being dubbed the first highlights of Paris 2024. The flame has been sailing along the coastline of Marseille on board the three-mast Baleim ship, a historic French maritime treasure accompanied by well over 1,000 decorative boats providing quite a spectacular show. The Baleim, with its 16-member crew, in addition to 3 guardians who have been watching the flame day and night to preserve the fire originating from Olympia, left Greece on the 27th of April with the flame to make the 12-day Mediterranean crossing to Marseille, its entry point into France. What makes the arrival of the Olympic torch here in Marseille so special is the story behind it and the city's connection to ancient Greece. Legend has it that the city was founded by Greek settlers, one of which fell in love with a local tribesman, marrying and thereby developing one of the world's oldest ports.
It's fantastic. It's very good for Marseille. It's fabulous to have the flame come from a Greek city. There is so much history there.
The celebrations continue on Thursday with the commencement of the Flame Rally, whereby the flame will be visiting some 8 communities first here in Marseille before continuing on to some 450 communities, meeting the people across France and 2 French territories. It will then make its way to Paris for July the 26th and the opening of the Paris Olympic Games. Marseille will also play host to 2 Olympic events, Olympic sailing, as well as 10 football matches. Natalie Carney for CGTN, Marseille.
Facing the unknown is always difficult. In a world in turmoil, it's easy to lose orientation. But when the storms come, we have to see the possibilities. Reinvent. Find new opportunities. Discover a path forward. CGTN. See the difference.
This year marks the 75th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and Hungary. Let's now take a closer look at the evolution of bilateral cooperation.
Hungary is a landlocked country in Central Europe, with Budapest being its capital and largest city. Hungary's foreign trade totaled more than 289 billion euros in 2023. It is one of the first nations to establish diplomatic relations with China and the first European country to sign the Belt and Road Initiative cooperation document with China. The Budapest-Belgrade Railway was a landmark project under the BRI framework, jointly built by China, Hungary, and Serbia. It is China's first railway project in Europe, and also marks the first time that China's railway technology and equipment were used under EU's railway interconnection specifications. On October 17th last year, Chinese President Xi Jinping met with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban in Beijing. During their talks, President Xi stressed China's commitment to promoting a deep synergy of the BRI with Hungary's opening to the East policy and sharing development opportunities and achievements. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said Hungary will continue to actively promote cooperation between Central and Eastern European countries with China and work for sound and stable development of China-EU relations. The two sides have also made efforts to promote cross-border travel and strengthen communication. Since March 14th this year, Hungary passport holders can enter China without a visa for more than 15 days. The move came after China announced a series of unilateral visa-free policies for 6 European countries early in March, which is set to run through November 30th. Hungary soon returned the favor by announcing its plan to issue long-term visas to Chinese nationals visiting the country for investment and business cooperation. In 2023, China was Hungary's largest trading partner outside Europe, with bilateral trade reaching $14.5 billion. China's total exports to Hungary last year were $9.8 billion, while imports from Hungary were $4.7 billion. China's electric vehicle sector have invested billions of dollars in Hungary, especially in battery production technology. Under the strategic guidance of the leaders of the two countries, China-Hungary relations have continued to flourish, yielding fruitful results across various fields.
While parts of the high-speed railway are up and running in Serbia, the Hungarian section is being built. Our reporter Chen Ziyuan has visited the town of Tassoni and learned more about the progress on the Hungarian side.
Hungary was the first European countries to sign a Belt and Road Cooperation Agreement in 2015. The Hungary-Serbia high-speed railway is also known as the Budapest and Belgrade Railway, is the flagship project of the partnership. The length of the double-track electrified railway is 341.7 kilometers. Serbia runs a little more than 50% and Hungary has the rest.
The section here stretches about 80 kilometers.
We have 3 tracks at Taksoni station. We are standing on the running track, and the right side is the same. The far one is called the main track and is used for transporting goods and avoiding collisions.
The project wasn't easy due to a lack of steel supplies and the regulations to protect the local habitat.
I've always been impressed by the amount of complex issues, and you have to approach a problem from several angles. This is especially true with the construction of railways. You have to take into account the economic, legal and construction factors. What impresses me most is that the project has progressed and is still doing so, despite such complex requirements.
Hungary has low reserves of flooring materials, including gates, rails and switches, and its production capacity is limited. When we started to plan in the early stages, we also considered buying materials from neighboring countries to ensure a supply of these materials. All the steel tracks and rails are ready to use. About 90% of them are here, and the barriers are at about 75%.
The construction team says the project is one of friendship and cooperation.
I believe the opening of the Budapest-Belgrade line is concrete proof of the cooperation between Hungary and China. It could certainly lay the foundations for further work and more projects, benefiting both sides. I think it's a very good opportunity for both countries.
China and Hungary are comprehensive strategic partners. Hungary is one of China's most important trading partners in Central and Eastern Europe and has been China's largest investment destination in the region for many years. Chen Ziyuan, CGTN, Budapest, Hungary.
So Hungary was the first European country to join the Belt and Road Initiative. Professor Xu, how is that coming along for the two countries?
Well, it's coming along very well. We've been seeing that our trade has been nearly doubled in the past few years, and also the Chinese investment in Hungary also risen up really fast. Well, I think Hungary is really smart, and they understand how to take advantage of their, advantages. For example, location. We always say location, location, and location. Hungary understand this advantage because they're at the very heart of the European, continent. And I used to, go to Hungary, and Hungary is always my first stop. Why is that? Because I always, see Hungary as a very, favorable place for me, and also I can use it as one of the starting points to go too deep into the European Union. For example, I always travel from Budapest to the Vienna, and also go to the Germany, and this is very fast. And you can just take one train and go there. Just imagine in the future when the Budapest have a high-speed rail, and we usually spend like 2 hours traveling from Budapest to the Vienna, and if we can have the bullet train from China, it will shorten the whole time into 30 minutes. And if we go to the Germany, if we go to the Frankfurt, well, just within 1 hour. And imagine that. If we can ship our cargoes through this high-speed rail, and how fast and how much we can rise up the trade between China and the European Union. Well, I think Hungarian people already see this potential, and they've been very enthusiastic to welcome and embrace the opportunity brought by the Belt and Road Initiative. And this is just one example, and then many other things coming after that: EVs, solar panels, lithium batteries, green bond, and renminbi clearing houses. So all this will come after bring the huge synergy between these two nations, and also between China and the European Union.
Yeah, connectivity is the key here. Now, the Budapest and Belgrade Railway is a landmark project under the Belt and Road Initiative. This is the first Chinese railway project in Europe. How big of a deal is it for the region in promoting connectivity?
Well, let me tell you first that if there was a Vienna
Budapest, Chinese-built super high-speed railway. I would love to be the first passenger taking that trip. I think that would be an amazing, scenario of moving from Vienna to Budapest, two of the most beautiful cities in Europe in less than 40 minutes. You're right. As I said before, connectivity is the trademark of the Chinese development model, connectivity and infrastructure, for the past 30, 40 years under the great vision of Deng Xiaoping and the leaders that followed. China, an economy which was poorer than India in 1978, now has the best infrastructure in the world. And I think what the Hungarians realized is that, as I've heard them saying, they want to partner with the best countries in certain fields, right? And so when it comes to infrastructure, China is the leader. Railway infrastructure is the leader. I hope, from a Greek perspective, that the railway can expand it from Belgrade all the way south to Piraeus, and combine with the port in Piraeus, which is another very successful investment, Belt and Road investment by China. You can have significant connectivity effects spilling over to the regional economy, to Greece, to Serbia, to Hungary, and the Balkan region.
The two countries have also been jointly building industrial parks. What kind of advances have they made on that front?
Well, industrial park is really important economic and a trade model between China and other countries. We have already got very successful examples between China and Malaysia, China, Indonesia, China and Singapore, and Asia countries. But when, you have to understand, when a Chinese company go to an exotic land for the investment, they have to face a lot of troubles. For example, the language. For example, the laws, registrations, taxations, and all kinds of the services need to be, solved. So they need like the one-stop, services for all these troubles. So industrial park in another country will actually meet this demand. Well, when we set up this industrial park in the Hungary, so we will give them the translations. We'll help them to get all these company registrations, taxation services, and etc. So they immediately will open up their shops and put into the productions. Right now, I think in Hungary we have already like more than 10 industrial parks already. For example, Wanhua Chemical. Wanhua Chemical is the leading chemistry industry companies in China, and also they've been partnering with one of the national brand in Hungary, also a chemical company. It's called BC, the Borsod. So they've been starting the new investment already, and also the CATL. We just watched in our report. They've been starting also their industrial park, and also there's some other industrial parks facing the SMEs, which means tens and dozens of the small companies can go to one park and enjoy the services. For example, there is a Chinese company called Intratech. The Intratech started this kind of the industrial park with Icarus company in Hungary. So many small business, or shoppers or small traders, if you want to start your presence in Hungary, just go there and they will take care of all kinds of the red tapes, and then you just jump into your business, start to make money.
Thank you very much. Stay with me, gentlemen. Now, the Vocal Liszt Ensemble, founded in 2022 at the Liszt Institute Hungarian Cultural Center, Beijing, unites a vibrant collective of youthful yet refined choral artists. Its name fuses vocalist with Liszt, honoring the legendary composer Franz Liszt and his Hungarian heritage. Our correspondent Yang Yan visited the institute in Beijing, interviewing Lanki Edit, Vocal Liszt founder, constructor, conductor, and fervent music educator.
Prior to our interview, Ms. Lansky gave me a brief tour of the institute.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Welcome you in the Hungarian Cultural Center Liszt Institute.
Oh, it's a very nice place. Oh, I just saw the costumes. Is it from?
Yeah, this is welcoming committee. This is from Eastern Hungary, Kalocsa. You can see this very, very nice, nice embroidery.
This intense but well-organized space has hosted exhibitions, children's activities, concerts, and rehearsals. Lansky calls it a multifunctional space.
It's a very important role because in this Hungarian Cultural Center we have many events, many exhibitions, and even classes to represent the Hungarian culture. All kind of Hungarian culture. You can look around and you can see, of course, the geographic things and how Hungary is look like, and of course the folk music, folk art pieces, and of course the high art pieces as well, the fine art pieces as well.
Vocalist has made several impressive performances. One of its purpose is to expand the musical palette of Chinese audiences.
I am a music teacher and a choir conductor as well. My major is this double, so I always wanted to establish a choir that can show how this choir thing is work in Hungary, and how the Hungarian choir culture can work in China.
English serves as the primary language within the choir, which presents a significant challenge in recruiting singers. Nevertheless, the current 13-member international ensemble enjoys great chemistry and togetherness.
One of the expectations, the singers should speak English for first, and we have high expectations about their sight reading skills and intonation, and they have to have a nice voice. So not so many singers we can choose, but we have applicants sometimes.
Yang Ye, CGTN, Beijing.
So cultural exchanges, people-to-people exchanges. Professor Tu, how would you describe the current state of cultural exchanges between Hungary and China?
Well, I think among all the European countries, I think Hungarian and Chinese people-to-people exchange are probably one of the best. And as I just mentioned, we set up the earliest Confucius Institute in Hungary, which has already been yielding very good result, nurturing many talents, has been, supporting the two countries, exchanges and cooperations already. And also, according to my knowledge, many Hungarian universities and even middle schools are having the partnership with Chinese counterparts. And right now, I think Chinese has already become one of the language, test in the college entrance examination in Hungary. So you can use Chinese if you pass the Chinese test, and then you can go to the Hungarian best universities. And I think this is also the #1 in European Union. So I think more and more with this going on, and I think we have more of the young people talking to each other. And also there's another trend I've been viewing is that on the TikTok and also on Instagram, there are many Hungarian bloggers try to record their lives, in China, and also exchange with Chinese people. So this is very new and is showing, the attractions of China to more of the Hungarian people and the European country people.
Interesting. Any significant cultural similarities or differences that you find would facilitate the cultural exchanges between China and Hungary?
Well, I'm not really a cultural expert, and I don't really have a lot of exposure in Hungarian culture. I have exposure in Chinese culture, but I would say, the social media dimension that you've just mentioned, it's something that could really bridge a lot of misperceptions. And the soft power of China lately has really increased because of TikTok videos or short videos that younger generations love to share. And there are three elements to globalization: movements of people, movement of capital, and movements of goods. I think movements of people, the people-to-people exchanges, are the priority, should be the priority. There are a lot of geopolitical obstacles. There are a lot of friction, if you wish, when it comes to projects that bring people together, lately visa restrictions. But I think China took the very right step in 6 months ago when you opened up your visa system. And now I think it is 7 European countries that have a visa waiver access to China. They can visit the country for 2 weeks. I think more would be even better. that's the right path forward. And I would believe the Hungarians would love to expand this visa waiver program to more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, and this is happening right now. We're just getting news just into CGTN that the relationship between the two countries, Hungary and China, has been elevated to all-weather comprehensive partnership in the new era. What do you make of it? What's your reaction to it after hearing these?
Well, probably you don't understand the word all-weather. What does that even mean? But among Chinese comprehensive strategic partners, there are not so many like all-weather. Pakistan is our all-weather partners. And, this is another one. So it shows that China really value and cherish our relations with Hungary because it shows in many fronts and it's really, really well balanced. Like you just mentioned, in the past, we have highly, trusted each other's relations, but it's political mutual trust. But right now, we're talking about real deal gold, real deal, business opportunities. Well, in the past 3 years, I'll give you just one example. In the past 3 years, the whole world is in trouble, right? Geopolitical conflicts, pandemic, etc. So, but the currency of the Hungary actually, appreciated while the euro has been depreciated. Why is that? It's because so many Chinese companies are starting investing in Hungary, and because you have to invest in Hungary, so you have to exchange your US dollar or Chinese yuan into Hungarian forint, and then buy factories, buy equipment, and pay salaries. And because the bulk volume is too large, so the exchange rate of Hungarian forint goes up, even against the euro and the US dollar. So this shows that how important these two countries' economic relations can be right now. And in the future, according to our knowledge, is that Mr. Orban has been promising more of the cooperation happening. I think Hungarian people are really smart because they, like you just mentioned, they only partner with the best. They try to be the co-pilot. They understand.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. We're looking at live pictures from Budapest. We're standing by for a signing ceremony between China and Hungary. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban are attending the ceremony. We're expecting a number of documents being signed between the two sides. A number of fields will be covered, laying the groundwork for deeper cooperation between China and Hungary, setting the stage for enhanced partnership and collaboration in the years to come. The two sides has just finished some closed-door meetings.
And Hungary on the 9th of May, after which we shall be delivered the addresses delivered by the Prime Minister Orban and Xi Jinping. The following documents shall be exchanged. Number 1, Hungary-China Belt and Route Cooperation Priority Projects and Issues List, signed on behalf of Hungary by Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Mr. Peter Szijjártó, and on behalf of the Chinese side, Zheng Shanjie, the President of the Chinese National Development and Reform Committee. Thank you very much. The second document is a Memorandum of Understanding on the establishment of Investment Cooperation Committee between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Hungary and the Ministry of Commerce of the People's Republic of China, signed on behalf of Hungary by Peter Szijjártó, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and on behalf of the People's Republic of China by Wang Wentao, Minister of Commerce. Number 3 is a Memorandum of Understanding between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Hungary and the China Atomic Energy Authority for cooperation in peaceful uses of nuclear energy, signed on behalf of Hungary by Peter Szijjártó, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and on behalf of China by Mr. Gong Tao, Ambassador. Number 4 is a Memorandum of Understanding between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Hungary and the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade on promoting supply chain cooperation between Chinese and Hungarian enterprises, signed by Peter Szijjártó, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and Zhen Hongbin, President of the Chinese International Trade Promotion Council. Number 5 is a memorandum of understanding on cooperation between the Ministry of Finance of Hungary and the Ministry of Finance of the People's Republic of China, signed on behalf of Hungary by Mihály Varga, Minister of Finance, and on behalf of China by Mr. Lan Foan, Minister of Finance. Number 6 is a memorandum of understanding on promoting investment cooperation in green development between the Ministry of Energy of Hungary and the Ministry of Commerce of the People's Republic of China. Signed on behalf of Hungary by Csaba Lantos, Minister of Energy, and on behalf of China by Mr. Wang Wentao, Minister of Commerce. Number 7, Memorandum of Understanding on promoting high-quality development of economy and trade cooperation zones between the Ministry for National Economy of Hungary and the Ministry of Commerce of the People's Republic of China, signed on behalf of Hungary by Márton Nagy, Minister for National Economy, and on behalf of China by Mr. Wang Wentao, Minister of Commerce. Number 8 is a memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Agriculture of Hungary and the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China on cooperation in the field of animal and plant quarantine, signed on behalf of Hungary by István Nagy, Minister of Agriculture, on behalf of Hungary, Mr. Yu Qianhua, Minister of the General Administration of the Customs of the People's Republic of China. Number 9 is a protocol of phytosanitary requirements for exports of fresh cherries from Hungary to China between the Ministry of Agriculture of Hungary and the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China, signed once again by Minister of Agriculture István Nagy and Mr. Yu Qianhua. Number 10 is protocol between the Ministry of Agriculture of Hungary and the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China on health requirements for bovine semen to be exported from Hungary to China, signed once again by Minister of Agriculture István Nagy and Mr. Yu Qianhua, Minister of the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China. Number 11, is cultural cooperation between the Ministry of Culture of Innovation of Hungary and the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of the People's Republic of China for the period of 2025-2029, signed by Mr. János Csák, Minister of Culture and Innovation, and Mr. Gong Tao, Ambassador. Number 12 is a memorandum of understanding on establishing joint laboratories between the Ministry of Science and Technology of the People's Republic of China and the Ministry of Culture and Innovation of Hungary, signed by Mr. János Csák, Minister for Culture and Innovation, and Ambassador Gong Tao. Number 13, joint communique between the Ministry of Culture and Innovation of Hungary and the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of the People's Republic of China on the inauguration of the China Cultural Center in Budapest, signed by Minister for Culture and Innovation János Csák and by Ambassador Gong Tao. Number 14 is a news exchange and cooperation agreement between Media Service Supports and Asset Management Fund, Duna Media Service Provider Non-Profit Ltd of Hungary, and Xinhua News Agency of the People's Republic of China, signed by Daniel Pop, CEO of MTVA, and Gong Tao, Ambassador. Number 15, agreement on mutual cooperation between Media Service Supports and Asset Management Fund and Duna Media Service Non-Profit Private Limited Company of Hungary, abbreviated as MTVA, and the People's Daily, People's Republic of China, signed by Daniel Pop, CEO of MTVA, and Gong Tao, Ambassador. Number 16 is protocol on the deepening of cooperation between the MTVA Media Service Supports and Asset Management Fund and China Media Group, signed by Dania Pop, CEO of MTV, and Shen Haisiong, President of the China Media Group. Number 17 is a strategic cooperation agreement between Magyar Turisztikai Ügynökség ZRT and China Media Group, signed by László Könnyit, CEO of the Hungarian Touristic Agency, and Shen Haisiong, President of the China Media Group. And last but by far from least, a memorandum of understanding on film cooperation between the Cabinet Office of the Prime Minister of Hungary and the China Film Administration, signed on behalf of Hungary by Csaba Kál, Government Commissioner for the Development of Hungarian National Film Industry, and on behalf of China by Mao Yu, Deputy CEO of the Chinese Film Bureau. Thank you very much. This concludes our signing ceremony, and now may I cordially invite Mr. Orban Viktor, Prime Minister of Hungary, and His Excellency Mr. Xi Jinping to take their place at the lecterns. And I would kindly ask Mr. Prime Minister to deliver his press address. Good afternoon. May I extend my most cordial welcome to you, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor to us that on the 75th anniversary of assuming diplomatic relationships in an official visit, we can extend our welcome to the President of the People's Republic of China, President Xi Jinping. 20 years have elapsed since we last had a visit on behalf of the President of China to Hungary. Back then, that was a completely different world, and we perhaps would not even have believed how many changes could occur within 2 decades. We are over a pandemic claiming the lives of millions in the world, and I would grasp the opportunity to thank Mr. President in person for the serious help that they provided in our trials and tribulations, which led us to save very many Hungarian lives. We have been living in the shadow of the war for 2 years, and never before have we seen such a great risk of an international or even a world war as we see now. Looking back on the world economy and world trade of 20 years ago, it had no resemblance of the ones that we live in today. Back then, we had a one-centered world order, and now we have a multipolar world order. And this new, one of the main columns, supporting columns of this new world order is the People's Republic of China, the country which today is decisive in the flow of world politics and world trade. Hungary has always had friendly relationships towards China, which had its firm political foundation. We always agreed with the principle of one China, single China, and we always stood on the grounds of mutual respect. We always looked on China as a friendly country, and in reality, history could not take a turn in a direction that the two countries would be opposing each other. Chinese-Hungarian cooperation, the unbroken friendship is what we have witnessed for decades. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we especially require the visit of Mr. President at this given moment when there is war being waged in our neighborhood and the world is debating whether we should continue that war or whether we should make efforts in order to achieve peace. Our voice, the voice of Hungary, is a lonesome voice in Europe. Europe is now on the side of war, in favor of war. The only exception is Hungary, which calls for immediate ceasefire and peace talks, peace negotiations, and supports all international efforts pointing towards peace. Therefore, the Chinese peace initiative presented by President Xi Jinping, we Hungarians are convinced that this conflict, this war, has no solution on the battlefield. On the battlefield, we only see corpses and destruction. We are convinced that the solution is at the negotiation table. We require ceasefire and peace talks. Ladies and gentlemen, if we compare the economic relationships of the two countries with the situation 20 years ago, then we see that the value of our trade was $3 billion during the course of the last visit, and today it is $12 billion, so we have quadrupled it. There was only a single flight connection between the two countries. Now we have access to 7 large cities directly from Budapest. Back then, we talked about friendly cooperation with no commitments beyond gestures, and today we have issued a joint announcement with Mr. President, discussing all-weather cooperation. It is indeed a privilege and opportunity for Hungary that China has invited us to participate in the Chinese economy and play a role in the modernization of the Chinese economy. And it's a great opportunity that China wishes to develop in the modernization and development of the Hungarian economy. 20 years ago, we in Hungary could scarcely find Chinese investments. Today, I say that last year, 3/4 of all the foreign investments arriving to Hungary arrived from China, and currently there is an investment of a grand total of 6,400 million Hungarian forints in Hungary from China. Your investments provide work for tens of thousands, providing a predictable and safe living for them. Obviously, we are in competition for these investments, since the Chinese corporations decide in a competition where they implement their investments, and we Hungarians are proud of the fact that we are doing well in this competition. I would like to ensure and assure Mr. President that Hungary will continue to provide fair and just environment for the Chinese corporations wishing to implement investments here, and we shall grant the opportunity to provide a meeting point in Hungary for the most state-of-the-art Western and Eastern technologies and establishing cooperation. Distinguished Mr. President, we Hungarians have serious ambitions. The past 100 years, the 20th century, was a century of shame for Hungary, which we lost. We suffered serious losses at a historical scale in the 20th century, and we Hungarians believe that the 21st century should not be lost, but should be won. We want to win it. And for that victory, we require partners, investors, trade partners, and the most state-of-the-art technology in the world. Distinguished Mr. President, Hungary wishes to establish the most modern technology here in the country, and there are fields in which China is the best in the world, and in some areas it is leading by miles. Therefore, we wish to thank you, Mr. President, and your delegation for supporting the economic cooperation, which brings the best, the most state-of-the-art technologies to Hungary in electromobility, in rail, road transportation, in the IT sector. And we would like to thank you for establishing the investment cooperation agreements, and thank you for having the opportunity to agree upon the expansion of further agricultural and food products to China. And I'd like to especially mention, because it is not only an economic fact, but also a manifestation of trust that we can expand our cooperation into the entire spectrum of nuclear cooperation, in which field there has been no cooperation previously between the two countries. This carries huge opportunities, because in the field of the nuclear sector, Hungary has serious international experiences and prestige, because we have been present in this sector for over 50 years now, and the greatest nuclear development in Europe is currently ongoing in Hungary. Our plan is that in Hungary, by the beginning of the next decade, it will be between 60 and 70% when it comes to the proportion of nuclear energy. Distinguished Mr. President, I would like to thank you here in public for your invitation to the Chinese International Trade and Economy exhibition as a guest of honor, which we shall attend, and we shall show you what we are capable of. I'd like to thank you for your visit, Mr. President. I'd like to thank you for coming to us, and I'd like to give my heartfelt special thanks for the measures and steps taken by the People's Republic of China in an effort to achieve peace. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. And now may I cordially invite His Excellency Mr. Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, to make his announcement.
Your Excellency, Prime Minister Viktor Orban, ladies and gentlemen, friends from the media, I am delighted to pay a state visit to Hungary at the kind invitation of President Sulyok and Prime Minister Orban. I wish to thank President Sulyok, Prime Minister Orban, and the Hungarian government for the thoughtful arrangements and warm hospitality for my visit this time. I wish to take this opportunity to convey, through friends from the media, the cordial greetings and best wishes of the Chinese people to the Hungarian people. This year marks the 75th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and Hungary. Over the past 75 years, the two sides have always followed the principles of mutual respect, equality, and mutual benefit to ensure that the relationship keeps moving in the right direction. The relationship is now at its best in history. I just concluded friendly and productive talks with Mr. Prime Minister. We had in-depth exchange of views and reached extensive consensus on developing China-Hungary relations in the new era and issues of mutual interest. We witnessed the exchange of important bilateral cooperation documents. I have full confidence in the future of our bilateral relationship. Prime Minister Orban and I both agreed that China and Hungary have always been good friends that trust and support each other and good partners that seek win-win cooperation. We should further elevate our bilateral relations and further enrich our cooperation. We have decided to issue a joint statement to announce the establishment of an all-weather, comprehensive strategic partnership for the new era between China and Hungary. From this new starting point, we will do what we can to bring the bilateral relationship and cooperation onto a golden voyage toward greater goals. This will enable us to inject strong impetus into the development and prosperity of our two countries. We both believe that profound political mutual trust has laid a solid foundation for the growth of China-Hungary relations. Both sides will maintain the momentum of close high-level interactions. We will strengthen dialogue and exchanges between our governments, legislatures, and political parties, share governance experience, and firmly support each other's core interests. China highly appreciates Hungary's firm commitment to the One China principle and will continue to firmly support Hungary in pursuing a development path suited to its national conditions. We both agree that the Belt and Road Initiative and Hungary's Eastern opening strategy are highly compatible. We will connect our development strategies more closely, deepen economic, trade, investment and financial cooperation, and advance the Budapest-Belgrade Railway and other key projects. We will expand cooperation in emerging industries and foster new quality productive forces in order to empower and facilitate economic and social development of the two countries. We both believe that there is a solid foundation for traditional friendship between our two countries. We will continue to support the teaching of each other's language, make good use of our respective cultural centers, strengthen sports, media, and subnational exchanges and cooperation, and promote mutual learning and understanding between different cultures and peoples. We will further improve our respective exit and entry policies, enhance direct flight linkages, and create more favorable conditions for more people-to-people exchanges. We both believe that cooperation between China and Central and Eastern European countries conforms with the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution for shared benefits. It is a fine example of cross-regional cooperation. China and Hungary will work together to expand the scope, broaden the coverage, and raise the levels of China's cooperation with Central and Eastern European countries in order to deliver more benefits to the peoples. China values its comprehensive strategic partnership with the European Union and views Europe as an important pole in a multipolar world, and also a key partner in China's bid to advance Chinese modernization. China supports Hungary in playing a bigger role in the EU and promoting greater progress in China-EU relations. We both agree that China and Hungary share similar views and positions on international and regional issues. We will strengthen communication and coordination in the multilateral field. We will advocate vigorously for an equal and orderly multipolar world and a universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization. We will resolutely uphold international fairness and justice and endeavor to build a community with a shared future for mankind. The Communist Party of China is leading the Chinese people in a concerted effort to advance the cause of building a great country and national rejuvenation on all fronts through a Chinese path to modernization. Chinese modernization means tremendous opportunities to the world. China wishes to enjoy common development and prosperity with Hungary. I believe that with joint efforts from both sides, China and Hungary will embrace a brighter future. Thank you.
That was Chinese President Xi Jinping and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban speaking to the press after a signing ceremony in Budapest. Altogether, 18 documents have been signed between the two sides, covering a wide range of areas, including trade and investment, nuclear energy, science and technology, culture and tourism, film and media services. One of the biggest headlines coming from that press statement is that a joint declaration is being signed by the two countries to elevate the ties to a comprehensive, all-weather comprehensive strategic partnership in the new era, really pointing to a new direction for future cooperations between the two countries. So a lot to unpack. Let's put things into perspective with my guests here, Professor Xu and Professor Vasilis Trikas here. So what stood out to you the most, Professor Trikas, from that press conference?
Well, I think the sincerity. You could see two leaders talking to each other with sincere patriotic feelings, and they really believe the relationship, the mutual relationship, the bilateral relationship brings immense benefits to both sides. That's number one. You could feel the sincerity when they talked. Number two is very interesting that the Chinese president mentioned the European Union. So, you know, there's a lot of contestation, a bit of rivalry between Hungary and some other European member states. But from a Chinese perspective, the idea that, yes, Hungary is an important member in Europe and China will support it, but the EU is a crucial partner for Chinese modernization. So I think that was a very, very strong statement there. I think the other thing that really impressed me was that the Belt and Road Initiative was the first deal that it was signed. And I think that was also a political statement from the Hungarian side. Some countries in Europe recently dropped their affiliation with the Belt and Road Initiative, but Hungary, it's doubling down on the Belt and Road Initiative, which has been enshrined in the Chinese constitution. So I think that was quite a strong signal that that Hungary is with China for the longer term.
What were your key takeaways from that?
Well, an all-weather partner. Well, 10 years ago, if you're going to tell me we're going to have all-weather partner in Europe, I probably wouldn't buy it. But right now, just take a look. It's a very important partnership between the two nations. Well, we have signed 18 documents with each other. It's covering a lot of a range. But if you piece up all this document, you will see just one thing: the ambition of Hungary. Do you know, in the past 40 years, how Hungary just rise up as one of the very important partners in the European Union is because Hungary fully understands their position in the European continent. And if they want to be bigger and, better, they have to fulfill the demand of the European Union. Well, 40 years ago, they chose to partner with Germany. So Germans started investing in Hungary, the car factories, Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and then they give the first round of the rise up of the Hungarian, economy. And to today, what does European Union want and really needed? Hungarian people have already figured it out. I think number one is infrastructure. Take a look at the railway we just mentioned. Travel from Budapest to Vienna, it takes 2 hours. It's too old and too slow. They need new infrastructures. And also they need to go green. European Union is probably the most extreme and aggressive green huggers in the whole world. Zero carbon emission by 2030. How can they achieve that? They need solar panels, they need nuclear powers, they need the EVs. And also the market. They want to sell the products to, the bigger market, for example, China, ASEAN nations, RCEP regions. And also, last but not least, the public products they needed by the European Union is peace. Because no matter you're going to have a war, in Eastern Europe or in the Middle East, the first victim is always European Union and their economy and their people. So more than anyone, they want peace. And guess who can figure it out and find a solution for this demand? China. China can provide the things for them. China is EV maker. China is a solar panel maker. China is infrastructure maker. And China have a huge market. And China, I think more than anyone else as a big country, have the sincere willingness and capability to make peace. It's China. So I think on this page, China stand with Hungary. China stand with European Union. We're actually on the same boat, on the same page. So I think that's the reason why we choose to partner with Hungary and further with European Union. That's the reason why we get the all-weather partnership with them. So I think they solve all the questions.
Yeah, President Xi says the two countries are moving toward the right direction in their cooperation. But how do you think Hungary is going to balance its relationship, considering its relationship with other major powers like the European Union and the United States?
Well, I don't think Hungary need to actually balance anything, because a stable and a prosperous European Union actually, meet the demand and also meet the benefit of America as well. I think the partnership between Hungary and China will actually enhance and solidify the position and the weight of Hungary inside of the European Union. And also, China would like to, partner with, Hungary as well, because China also needs to go green. China also needs technology from European Union, and China also needs the market of the European Union. And this demand from China will give Hungary more of the say, more of the power to have a, better positioning inside of the European Union. So I don't think they need to balance, but they need to work harder to make more things happen in this region.
All right, I want to get to our correspondent, Evangelist Sipsas, live for us at the Hungarian Parliament there in Budapest. Good to see you, Evangelo. What are the reactions there to President Xi's press release and the signing ceremony we've just witnessed?
Well, it's still quite early to be able to see the reaction of the people here on the ground, but for what we have been speaking to a number of people, and they were expecting this ceremony, the signing ceremony, with high anticipation. Of course, they didn't know what was going to come out of this meeting between the two leaders, but they did have some sort of an understanding that there will be a number of MOUs that were signed, just as it was mentioned, just as it was actually signed in the ceremony, from agriculture to the sciences to nuclear energy to better comprehensive cooperation between the two sides and people-to-people exchanges. That's something that the people here on the ground pretty much were looking forward to. They were hoping that the two sides will indeed sign MOUs to be able to further enhance the cooperation between the two nations. And we did see that. We did see the two sides are now trying to bring the two sides closer to each other, not only when it comes to the financial and the corporation parts, but when it comes to the people-to-people exchanges, the culture, to sciences, to also language skills. And that's something that we have been seeing a lot here in Hungary. We've seen a number of Hungarians that are attending bilingual Chinese schools. They're hoping that it will be easier for them now, after they graduate that school, to be able to go and study in China. And they're looking forward for that exact thing. And thanks to this outcome of today's signing ceremony, we're going to be seeing more and more Hungarians that are going to be traveling to China, because I have to mention also, as the two leaders did mention in that press conference, that there is a possibility that there will be an extension of the visa-free travel between the two sides.
Thank you very much for the latest. Evangelist Sipsa is live for us in Budapest there. And with that, we conclude our special coverage of President Xi Jinping's visit to Hungary and the signing ceremony, as well as the press release. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.